Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX with me, Devika Devan. Union Minister JP Nadda is all set to address a press conference shortly. His address to media will come after he's held a second round of talks with the representatives of the Cockroach Janata Party. Visuals, of course, that you see on your screens are from the earlier meeting that took place, but we're now learning that he will be briefing the media shortly. We're hoping that the government has possibly come to some sort of a conclusion on what lies ahead. A day after leading an opposition protest outside Prime Minister Narendra Modi's residence over the alleged NEET paper leak and the police action against student protesters, leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi has launched a fresh attack on the centre. At a press conference in New Delhi, he demanded Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation. He sought an apology from Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He's described India's education system as rigged and pledged to bring the Congress's support for the students' protest. Rahul Gandhi's address to the media came after Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan had hit out sharply at the opposition leaders, accusing them of manufacturing disruption. Dharmendra Pradhan said, and I'm quoting here, "For Rahul Gandhi, this is not about students, this is about manufacturing confrontation after every genuine avenue for discussion has been opened. Our government remains 100% committed to discussing NEET and addressing every genuine concern of our youth on the floor of the House." This, of course, comes as the political blame game continues, even as crowds continue to gather at Jantar Mantar to protest. Joining me on the broadcast is Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst with us. Tehseen, thank you for joining us. I do have to understand from you, firstly, your perspective of what's happening on the streets of Delhi, where it started and where it stands today.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. Look, let's understand one thing. Paper leaks are unacceptable. It's not a level playing field. And Dharmendra Pradhan ji is the Education Minister of India, not because he has some vision with regards to education, but because he's a Nepo child whose late father was a Union Minister in Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee's cabinet. He has zero clue about education. He's arrogant. His own daughter studied abroad. Imagine the Education Minister's kids don't study in India. And under his nose, repeatedly, there have been paper leaks. And his bright idea was using the Indian Air Force to deliver papers or shutting Telegram. Because you know what? Those who leak papers can only deliver papers on Telegram. They can't do it on WhatsApp or Signal. That's the level of IQ people in this government have.
Okay, but Tehseen, is that the correct starting point as far as working of the parliament and discussion in the parliament is concerned, for the opposition to now say that we will not even discuss the issue until Dharmendra Pradhan resigns? Is that the correct starting point?
What is the starting point? There is a man who's education minister since 21. There have been repeated paper leaks. The boss of NTA, National Testing Agency, in 2024, when there were paper leaks, is today Principal Secretary Chhattisgarh. Is that a punishment? What do you want me, Devika, to go and tell the students whose parents have, the parents of students have committed suicide, their parents, that the punishment to the NTA chief was that he's now Principal Secretary Chhattisgarh? Is that what I go and tell the parents? Come on. This is an uneven. I'm asking you a question and I would like you to answer this. Can you answer one thing? Why is it that kids of netas, why is it that kids of babus, people who run this country, their education system, they all study in private schools? Why don't they go to government schools?
Because government schools in India don't function. I have visited government schools. I have worked in government schools in my college days. So I know that I would never, Tehseen, I know that I will never send my child to a government school in India.
Hats off to you. Hats off to you. But you're a private citizen.
Exactly.
Why? So if netas and babus who are meant to run this system send their kids abroad to study, send them to private schools, including Dharmendra Pradhan ji, why should they continue? Is this not a country for you and me? Why?
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. But my point is, Tehseen, when you're on, is there room for negotiation? Is the opposition or are the leaders who now have the ability to carry the voice of the youth forward, are they interested in coming to the negotiation table without the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan? Because you know, the opposition also knows, when you're in politics, you know how the other side operates, right? You know that the government will not set a precedent, most likely will not set a precedent by simply asking a minister to resign. That is not how the government has operated since it has come to power. Are we trying to set that precedent?
Kids have died. It's not the first time there's a paper leak. It's not the first time there's a paper leak.
Precisely.
Under Dharmendra Pradhanji's nose, there have been over 80 paper leaks. At some point, there has to be accountability.
Absolutely.
When you say that I'm putting a gun on his head, I'm not. I didn't put it in 2021. I didn't put it in 2022. I didn't put it in 2023. I didn't put it in 2024. In 2024, he denied there was a paper leak. NewsX broke the story of the paper leaks. He denied that there were paper leaks. I didn't put it in 2025. 2025, he was on another trip. He said that nothing happened. It is when it's repeatedly happening, you got to say, hold on, something's wrong with you. And you clearly can't function. And therefore, you need to go. People's lives are ruined. There are people who've ruined. You know, we are very privileged. These kids who come for these exams, they take loans. Their parents take loans. They go to these coaching classes. You cannot play with the future of India. Dharmendra Pradhanji's daughter did not have to stand in a line. She went abroad to study. At some point, there has to be accountability. I would agree with you. I would actually agree with you if this was the first paper leak. You could say, okay, let's step back. Mistakes can happen everywhere. As you rightly said, the system can never be foolproof. But it's sometimes there are no paper leaks. There's always a paper leak. You are at the helm of it. You got to step down. If I come in your show, you're a wonderful anchor, and this is a brilliant platform, and I'm abusive. Maybe one time you tolerate me, you say, okay, we will, you take account. You say, okay, maybe it was an error. I do it the second time. Maybe it's an error. If I'm repeatedly coming on your show, getting this huge platform, and I'm abusive, toxic, speaking stuff that I shouldn't speak, at some point you'll have to take accountability and can either shut me out or not call me again. Isn't that how it works? So yes. Why should it not work for Dharmendra Pradhanji?
Okay, Tehseen, then I also want to understand from you, how do we then address this whole issue of narratives that have started on various social media platforms, of videos that are coming in of all sides and all sorts of things that are being said on the streets at this point in time, because that somewhere makes people who really wanted to support the cause become a little wary of what's the actual intention. What is your message then to the people who genuinely want to focus on the cause, which is the paper leaks, which is the education system, and not get muddled with all sorts of other slogans that are being raised in Delhi? It seems that it's become an open for all sort of a platform.
I agree with you. And it started when that Chichora comedian went out there and insulted Maryada Purushottam Bhagwan Shri Ram. There was a failed actress trying to revive her career. I totally agree with that part of it. But look, that is the surround sound. There will always be vultures and hyenas. What is the issue? We are deviating. The government can't say because a bunch of chichoras are coming and raising slogans, we will not deal with the core issue. We are forgetting the core issue. The core issue is that Dharmendra Pradhanji is incompetent. Under his nose, there repeatedly been NEET paper leaks and other paper leaks. Students have committed suicide and there's been no accountability. The last NTA chief is now Principal Secretary Chhattisgarh, while kids have died. That's the core issue. Somebody coming and saying 370, somebody coming and saying I feel like a kabutar, I have a right to my identity and my identity is a kabutar is irrelevant. Fine, if he's doing gutter, let him do, let her do, let it do gutter. It is not the core issue. The government needs to address the core issue. The core issue is reforms in the education system. Those are not happening. That's why you were in government. That's why this government was in power. You can't get away by saying somebody shouting on LGBTQ cause, somebody plus cause, somebody shouting on 370. Look what's going on. Okay, that's all going on. You could easily shut them up by solving this issue. You've not done that. Now you're diverting to another issue. Don't do that.
Okay, Tehseen, when we talk about then fixing the education system, countries like China, Singapore, South Korea, they actually treat their national level examinations, critical examinations equivalent of their UPSCs and their NEETs and JEEs as a military operation. It quite literally it's considered a military operation to conduct those examinations. Is that something that India should be looking at and demanding?
So China's banned coaching classes. That's what I would suggest. But more than that, look, it's not about using the Air Force or the military. That means the civilian government is collapsed. What you need to do is use technology. There is so much technology. We live in an AI world with blockchains. Papers can be given on blockchains. Blockchains can be codified. Only limited QR code accesses on the paper can happen. For example, just to simplify, say I am setting the paper. It's a paper for a subject, say biology, and you are the one who has to say translate it in Hindi. Just an example, right? A paper can come to you QR codified where only you can open it via the seal on a blockchain, thereby setting accountability between you and me. And then it can go to somebody else. Why aren't we using technology when technology is so magnificent? We can easily do it. What are they doing? These papers are coming out on the most primitive way. How did the paper leak get at? See, where did the CBI start? If you go in the reverse, how this charge sheet was filed, there was a family in Rajasthan associated with the ruling party that first got the papers in hand. They paid about 10 lakh rupees for it, allegedly. But they are associated with the ruling party, allegedly, and on Facebook, their pictures are there with the ruling party people. Now, when you go back, it reaches my city of Pune. How did it reach my city of Pune? Because there was a guy who was supposed to translate this paper in Marathi. He then tied up with this one woman who was a businesswoman, and then they gave these papers to the students. Now they are using all these primitive ways of delivery. It's going in normal cars, normal vehicles. There's no GPS tracking. There's no satellite imagery. You can use all of that.
Okay.
When I say you can use technology, and you understand this much more than most people in this country do. That's why I have so much respect for you. Can you tell me something? Could we not do that? The bright idea of Dharmendra Pradhan was, oh, let's ban Telegram. Like, oh, because you and I can only communicate on Telegram. We can't do this on Signal or WhatsApp. You look at how outdated these babus and government people are.
Okay, Tehseen, my apologies, I have to cut this conversation short. JP Nadda